Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here with Kill Count. Today, well, it's in a violent nature. We would have gotten this last week, but due to those LA fires, it got pushed back. Concerning the forest, oh boy, probably not for the best. Also, gotta watch out for the staff. Anyway, so this film's based on the killing point of view of a usual Friday the 13th-esque slasher. So let's check it out. Be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. I know it's harsh, but let's check it out.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where
Hey,
we
James,
tell
how you
the
doing?
victims and all our favorite horror movies and
Show you how they were made.
I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at In a Violent Nature, released in 2024. In a Violent Nature has a classic horror movie setup. A bunch of dumb kids at a cabin in the woods get stalked by an undead slasher. He's a big, beefy, Jason-like man-child named Johnny, and he's here to impress you with his kills. But this movie's unique in that it's told almost entirely from the killer's point of view, which turns out ain't as interesting as you'd think. I mean, don't get me wrong, the highs are high, but the time it takes to get to each victim, yeesh. In a Violent Nature doesn't edit out all the in-between, and since Johnny ain't taken Manhattan yet, he can't teleport. That means his slow ass just gotta walk, and walk his slow ass does.
I mean, calming.
Writer-director Chris Nash describes it as patient cinema, where the viewer is rewarded for allowing tension to build. That's not for everyone, so this movie might be too slow for a lot of people. I mean, it's basically a hiking simulator with occasional kills. But if you can put your phone away and really engage with it, you'll find an exceptionally well thought out and atmospheric experience. While Johnny is a lumbering mute killer, all of his actions are motivated, almost always through sound. In fact, this movie is a hugely oral ordeal. Oral, not oral, children. It relies a ton on what you hear. The sound design is incredible, from the constant hum of nature to the rustling of dirt displaced with each footstep. You'll want to break out the good headphones for this one. On top of all that, this movie is low-key hilarious. It's not laugh out loud funny, this ain't Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but it's still a great deconstruction of older slashers. You know, the ones with crappy characters and bad acting. That's why the dialogue is clunky and the performances are stilted. Not every killer gets to live in an elevated horror movie. Johnny inhabits one that feels like a lesser Friday sequel. But this is the chance to find out what Jason might have been up to cooling off between kills. It's clear that the filmmakers have a love and appreciation for the slasher subgenre. Nowhere is that more apparent than in the kills. When Johnny finally reaches one of his victims, he goes all out. And you know what? I don't want to be glazing a bunch of effects work that you can't see behind blurs, so I'm gonna take the hit and release this episode uncensored. It might get age restricted and maybe suppressed otherwise. Who fucking knows how YouTube works anymore? But I want everyone to enjoy these exceptional kills, including one that's an all-timer. I can't afford to do this all the time, but I will make an exception here, especially since we do have help from a sponsor. Speaking of which, someone's picked up my everyday earbuds from today's sponsor, Raycon.
Sweet.
Excuse me. I have business to attend to. I mean, I understand someone wanting a pair of Raycons for the new year. After all, they're the perfect companion for so many New Year's resolutions, like hitting the gym, being more productive around the house, or keeping in touch with family. But these are mine. Mine! In all their royal blue glory.
Already got my own.
With an assortment of vibrant colors, plus a protective case cover that adds a little custom flair while still letting the case charge wirelessly, who wouldn't feel the call of the cons? Huh. Is brutally murdering this thief taking things too far? No, I need my Raycons. What would I do without their active noise cancellation, ergonomic design, optimized gel tips, and 32 hours of battery life to get me through all these long work days?
It's used by the Gurkhas.
Yeah, it's like the only
Gurkha?
What? Molly, did you bring me my Raycons? Aw, that's so sweet.
Thank you,
I'm
Molly.
sorry I was gonna murder you. Don't risk a killer's vengeance.
If the dog sits here and I'm like,
buyraycon.com/deadmeat to get up to 20% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get up to 20% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/deadmeat. If a teen dies in the forest, but there's no one around to hear it, did they make the count?
Yes,
Let's find out and get to the kills.
Let's go. I got nothing left to say.
The movie begins at the remains of an old fire tower. Some off-screen explorers discuss a local legend.
Well, you guys never heard of the White Pine Slaughter?
As they leave, one of them takes an old locket that's hanging nearby. Big mistake, since there's someone buried there, and he don't take too kindly to thievery.
Yep, here comes Johnny.
Hold on, he'll be here in a second. Takes him a while to get going in the morning, you know, but he's nothing if not persistent. This undead big boy is Johnny, our slasher POV for the duration. Strapping for some carnage. Actually, you probably
more
don't
like
need
just
to
an
buckle up. This ride is pretty damn slow. Johnny follows the sound of a car horn honking to the home of a hunter named Chuck. He lives next to the
Hey, Chuck.
parkland and is arguing with a park ranger who doesn't like that he's setting animal traps all over the woods.
So I go back there, I'm not gonna find any more of these.
You go in that fucking barn, you might not find your way out again, boy.
The ranger leaves
Oh.
right as Johnny finally lumbers over. He heads inside Chuck's house, just missing the hunter on his way out. Johnny pokes around and finds what appears to be his missing locket, triggering a Pamela Voorhees-style flashback of his father gifting it to him.
This was your mother's, John. I want you to have it. You'll always be our little boy, John.
His reminiscing is cut short by a warning shot from Chuck, who quickly regrets it when he sees what he's up against.
What the fuck?
Johnny
Oh.
disarms the guy
Hi.
and chases him into the woods. Or, I mean, like, is this technically chasing? I feel like you have to run for it to be a chase. This seems more like, I don't know, aggressively walking towards. In any case, it's
Well, I mean, to be fair, let's be real. If, like, even someone just came back from the dead, I doubt they'd be running. Like, rigor mortis is a real thing, you know? Just say. You're not gonna get much out of the guy. Just say. But, yeah, you can definitely see how it's going. It's just can't love to run, but I can't move that well. I can imagine that happening. Anyone else? Anyway.
It's hilarious, especially when we cut to Johnny catching up to the guy. Turns out Chuck's fucked his own leg up in one of
Oops.
his traps. He really is a #1 motherfucker. Johnny reaches towards him, and the movie match cuts to a fistful of blood. Oh, thank God they cut out the return trip. Okay, John, what you got there? Your mother's necklace?
Nope.
Not so much.
Him.
Huh? Nope, it's just that motherfucker's, whose body we see when Johnny backtracks to the scene of the crime. Chuck was played by Timothy Paul McCarthy, last seen on The Kill Count and Psycho Goreman. Makes sense. Writer-director Chris Nash worked on special effects in that movie, where he also appeared on screen as a thug. McCarthy previously
interesting.
worked with Nash in his
ABC's
ABCs of
Death.
Death 2 segment, Z is for Zygote. With his Hunter divorce
think
out
we'll
of the
cover
way,
that?
Johnny moves on to the main course, the college kids who took his locket, directing him to their location via sound. In a Violent Nature has a fascinating history, because the movie we're watching is actually a reshoot. The first version was filmed in the fall of 2021 in the Kawartha Lake region of Ontario.
not
There's a
succeed?
feature-length documentary
What
on the
happened?
Blu-ray that details the attempt. I realized pretty early on that I didn't need to watch the whole thing for the kill count, but I couldn't look away. I just had to watch the whole thing. I have never seen a more accurate depiction of what it's like to be on a low-budget set.
How are you feeling?
Concern.
They were plagued with problems from all sides, from getting rained out, to equipment malfunctioning, to unwelcome visits from wildlife.
Is that a text dance?
The behind-the-scenes camera captures it all.
Whoa, oops. My bad.
I meant to do that.
I was actually surprised by some of the stuff they included, like conversations between disgruntled crew members.
I had 7 people originally planned for this. That's what I said. I said it needs 7 people. I sent an email. 7 people are needed for this.
You would see plan B, the plate.
No, that didn't work. That was a piece of shit.
Seriously, if you want to see people lose faith in a project, look no further.
Let's ask if we are gonna actually finish the movie.
And
Oh my goodness. No. Oh my god.
One of the big issues was that they didn't properly plan for shooting in the wilderness. Their camera rig was way too big. They kept getting snagged and tripped up, looking like they were trying to invade Endor. My favorite part of this footage came from an unruly dog actor who just would not listen to commands. Fenton! Fenton! His dog, named Kinky, just ran around and barked
Sorry,
for
Zay.
hours. Oh man, this poor crew.
Wait.
son of a bitch.
If you've ever thought of making an indie film, this is the realest depiction of how it'll probably go. High tensions and everything.
Pierce, shut that fucking thing off right now.
I'm so glad all of it was filmed by Pierce Dirks.
Did you film that whole thing?
Yes, he did. After wrapping production and watching an initial cut, Chris Nash decided to reshoot the entire movie from scratch.
It wasn't a difficult decision to make, because it's such a flippant thing to say, that we're just gonna reshoot the movie. And
you
then
bring
I
the
just
crew
left
back,
it to my
or what
producers,
happened?
just like, figure that out, guys.
He used the editing budget.
Like, honestly, what? Like, okay, you gotta admit, like, even if you fail the first time, for him to be like, you know, let's just reshoot this thing. We'll go again. Fuck it, we'll go live. Or something like that. I can imagine that happening, you know? Be a Bill O'Reilly, huh? Just had to say it. But still, the fact that he didn't give up and he just like, you know, let's go again. I mean, hopefully they learn from their mistakes. But still, ouch. Anyway.
And his personal savings to try again, armed with a lot more experience. They downsized the camera rig and crew, with producers filling in on several positions. Pierce Dirks, who filmed all that behind-the-scenes stuff the first time around, returned as cinematographer. Production moved to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Nash's hometown area that inspired the idea in the first place. That allowed them to call in favors from family and friends. It is so impressive and rare that Nash didn't let his idea die after a failed production. In the end, only a single shot from the first attempt made it into the final film.
Where?
Yeah, one shot. The most expensive shot in the entire movie is an over-the-shoulder shot. Looking at another character.
Johnny slowly stalks the kids all the way to their campfire. For the first time, the movie steps away from Johnny's side to get a spinning look at our future victims. Stoner guy Aaron tells his friends our special boy's backstory, starting with his name and deficiencies.
A slow kid named Johnny.
It's told as a campfire tale, a time-honored tradition. I mean, just consider Paul Holt. He says that 70 years ago, Johnny's father owned a shop at a local logging camp. After jacking up his prices, the loggers decided to teach him a lesson by playing a prank on his young son.
They told Johnny they found a bag of toys, and that he should meet them at the old fire tower.
The old fire tower where they found that necklace. That necklace you took. Yeah, you, Troy. You're really fucked up.
Way to go, Troy.
Johnny climbed to the top of the fire tower, but found neither toys nor Rich Sommer.
Just one of the men in a creepy old firefighter's mask waiting to scare him. And he did.
The prank went wrong and Johnny fell to his death. Yeah, you know how these things go.
Yeah,
Real prom night shit. When Johnny's father confronted the loggers, they killed him too, and the logging company covered the whole incident up. Executives came by to check on things a week later, only to find everyone at the camp dead.
Huge fucking lumberjacks torn to pieces.
But of course, this ghost story doesn't have any ghost flashback, so the numberless off-screen kills don't go on the count.
No
With the
counts
ghost story concluded, the group takes a selfie, not realizing Johnny's photobombing them back there. They retire inside to live out their own little movie, the one we would normally be watching, but not right now. We're sticking with Johnny, and he only gets glimpses of things, like the lover spat between necklace stealer Troy and his girlfriend final girl Chris. Things have been tense since Chris cracked a dick joke by the fire.
Yeah, my girl's pretty funny. Isn't she cold?
Yeah, there's some kind of love triangle going on between them and the moody Colt. It's reminiscent of the Friday reboot, with Danielle Pennebaker, Jared Padalecki, and that Trent dude who was also in Transformers for some reason. Johnny only sees Chris in a brawl though. His movie ain't booby, very much unlike the Friday reboot.
You got perfect nipple placement.
As with any other slasher killer, Johnny finds a bunch of things he can use as weapons. Great! He wanders out back where stoner girl Brody gets her toking interrupted by Aaron leaving.
Wait, are you going to meet up with those gas station girls?
Well, either that or to take a shit. But either way, Brody razzes him alongside Evan, male character number 4.
Fill me up, Aaron! Fill me up, Aaron!
Aaron's listening to music through headphones and playing it loud enough to damage his ears, and the rest of his body, since it draws Johnny towards him. Johnny lumberjacks him up from behind with a draw knife, a tool used for woodworking. He keeps the pressure going until Aaron's lid pops off like Billy Hitchcock. The first beautiful bloody showcase of this movie's great kill.
Bye, Aaron.
It's a kill that reminds me of Eddie's in Friday 5, another movie that was way more booby than this one.
It's
showtime!
Aaron's t-shirt graphic inspires Johnny to take his body to a nearby ranger station. He schleps both pieces of Aaron all the way through the woods for so long the Walkman batteries start to die. This slows the music down in a not entirely realistic way.
Pretty sure that would have been shut off.
There's no score in this movie, but we do hear diegetic rock songs sometimes. They were all done by local bands from Sault Ste. Marie and Toronto. Johnny reaches the ranger station. It's closed for the night, but if this is an emergency, use phone or head.
He uses head.
Head it is, and it sticks the landing. He finds an opportunity to upgrade his loadout, both in the form of his appearance and weaponry. It's all old logging equipment, like an antique hatchet and some drag hooks, which were used to wrap around big tree trunks. Since he's already made use of Aaron's head, might as well put the body to work too.
Yep.
Now he can dress just like the logger who scared him to his death as a boy. Johnny's mask is meant to be a Vajan Bader firefighting helmet, which was used at the turn of the century. It was originally more accurate to the real-life design.
Why do I suddenly remind myself of like
a big
SCP
goofy diving
2006?
helmet. They redesigned it when they shot the movie
helmet.
again, making it smaller and adding goggles. Johnny himself also went through a lot of changes. In the original production, their first Johnny actor was probably allergic to the makeup.
I don't know if it's a makeup remover or the makeup, but every time afterwards, it's like I feel like I got stung by a bee.
He wound up getting severely ill and had to be replaced. And I don't know what happened with the other guys, but they replaced Johnnies faster than Spinal Tap drummers. There were more Johnnies than there were Bobbies on Mad Men. For the second production, they landed on actor Rye Barrett, who based his performance on iconic slashers, specifically Nick Castle's Michael Myers and Kane Hodder's Jason. He made sure Johnny was always moving with a purpose. Armed with his new gear, Johnny plods his way into morning. He finds a couple more campers on a dock across the lake, so he plants his hatchet in a stump and starts to wade on over to him. Man, as soon as I saw him do this, I knew we'd have to watch him come back and retrieve it eventually. You leave something somewhere, you gotta go get it later, even when it's really far away. Stoner chick Brody is trying to get wet and wild with Aurora, the group's stereotypically scoldy social issues type.
Cancel culture doesn't exist, you fucking ableist.
She's not interested in Brody. She would just prefer a more direct approach.
If you want to make a move, make a move. Just don't waste my time with this high school bullshit.
She leaves, but tells Brody to meet her in a few to stretch her out through yoga and possibly other means. Brody bobs for a while until the unseen Johnny gives her the Jaws treatment. I love how long the shot holds afterward. Is that actress really down there the whole time? She gets one final breath in as the shot cuts. But that's it. Soon afterward, she floats up face down. Damn, Johnny, Jason at least let people get to the sex before he killed them. Brody's death was simplified a lot from the initial idea. In the first production, they wanted to have a shot that followed Johnny underwater as he walked across the lake floor. When that didn't pan out, for obvious reasons, Nash tried to change it to a shot where the camera skimmed across the lake.
Right now, what we're trying to accomplish is everything up to the underwater sequence.
That didn't work either. The makeshift boat they had wouldn't even stay afloat, but it was probably for the better.
Thinking back at it, like that original conception of like how we were going to shoot that scene was just so like creatively masturbatory from like a directing standpoint of like, what are you doing? You're like, you might as well just be pointing the camera at yourself.
I love how real Nash is about where he messed up and what his movie is. He admits the first production failed
when they learned from their mistakes
and his own underestimation of what filming in the woods would be like. He also rejects the idea that this movie reinvents the slasher, saying they did the same thing, just moved the camera to a different spot. Besides the obvious Friday the 13th influence, Nash cites Terrence Malick movies and Gus Van Sant's Death Trilogy as inspiration for the slow, deliberate pace. No Country for Old Men was another comparison. Some of Johnny's personality was even based on Anton Chigurh. For the cinematography, D.P. Dirk said he was inspired by Neon Genesis Evangelion, particularly the 1:3:3 aspect ratio instead of the usual 16:9 widescreen. Johnny decides to keep Brody's date with Aurora and walks there hooks in hand. He's been walking around with those chains looking like Friday 7 Jason, but he's about to make more use of them than J-Man ever did. Aurora hears him coming when he steps on a stick.
I was wondering when you were finally gonna show.
I want to double check that.
You sure took your time, though.
He sure
And
did.
there we go.
Her scenic spot for stretching becomes a dead end against this slasher. It almost seems like she just accepts her fate as Johnny sticks a drag hook straight through her back. Fuck. She turns around to face him, and he proceeds to pull it out through her front. Holy shit. Stab her in the head with it. Holy shit. And then spin her around and pull her head down through her stomach and out the other side. Holy fucking shit. Dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Johnny Slasher. This kill is worth the price of admission alone, and was foreshadowed earlier.
Why don't you come find me when you're done your swim, and maybe you can stretch me out a little more?
John tosses her body down the hill, but it isn't even given the dignity of going all the way down. The filmmakers planned for it to, but they thought it was funnier that it stopped halfway. I agree. The yoga kill was accomplished with several bodies that had detachable limbs, all rigged to do different things. The effect was headed by Steven Kostansky, the incredible makeup artist and filmmaker who made PG Psycho Goreman. Love to see friends helping each other out. The kill was filmed in pieces months apart, some in early May and more of it in August. They even did pickups in December back home. The shot of the vertebrae popping out was filmed in a producer's mom's backyard.
Yikes.
Just as I predicted, Johnny has to walk all the way back to retrieve his axe. It takes him a solid few minutes, but he finally does it. Okay, on to the next kill. These shots really show you the time and effort it takes a slasher like Johnny to execute each kill. Pretty sad then when some jackass in a yellow v-neck comes along and speeds through each kill making body oil jokes. The disrespect. By this point, the remaining campers have started to realize something's wrong.
Something's not right, Troy.
and you know it.
Douchebag Troy doesn't want to cut their trip short, so he chucks the car keys into the trees. They land by Johnny's feet, and he finds a little toy car on the keychain. And if there's literally one thing we know about Johnny, it's that he loves to play with toys. And also, dude gets his steps in. He sits down to play with it, giving us our one and only look at John's fucked up zombie face. Blind eyes, sharp teeth, slashes on his head. Oh man, this guy's been through a lot. In retrospect, Nash thinks this scene played out a bit too emotionally. He wanted Johnny to be acting on instinct, with as little humanity as possible. The toy car was only meant to be a trigger, a sort of memory of a memory. It was never meant to humanize him, but it definitely did, since now Chelsea wants to adopt him.
Johnny is so sweet, and he just, this poor baby.
Colt comes over to look for the key.
Honestly, if my wife told me, like, we want to adopt that, I'd be like, you can promise me he's not going to kill us in our sleep. You can keep him. Otherwise, no dice. I'm just saying, that's just something you're like, is that even just worth a headache? Just saying. Anyway.
And is alarmed to find Johnny's axe. His search is cut short by an off-screen outburst from Troy.
I'm sorry Colt's dead dad fucked him up. But he doesn't get to kill my whole fucking weekend too.
What the fuck did you just say?
Talk of a dead dad switches Johnny back to murder mode. That poor toy car never had a chance. I love the snippets we get of the unseen other movie going on, the one focused on the campers. At some point, there was a scene where they noticed Johnny in the background of their selfie, but we don't see it. We only hear it referenced now.
What about the guy in the photo?
What fucking guy? It was just a shitty photo. Dirt on the fucking lens or something.
No, it wasn't dirt, and you know it.
Chris gets pissed at her boyfriend and leaves on an ATV with Colt for the ranger station. Troy goes back inside, and Johnny proves he isn't quite the slow boy they made him out to be by cleverly sticking a branch against a car horn. Usually only the survivors get to use noise distractions. This shit is imba! They better nerf Johnny in the next patch. He goes around the cabin and retrieves his axe while Troy's distracted by that damn honking. Johnny gets the jump on him, and though Troy fights back, he still winds up with an axe in his leg. Johnny's attack is stopped by the sound of a gunshot, courtesy of that Evan dude. You can see him notice Johnny through the window as he circled the cabin. Evan puts another shot into Johnny's chest, which takes him down.
Did you get him? Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, but
you sure about that?
Probably make extra sure. We all know what kind of movie this is. Instead,
True.
the guys try to
Always gotta double tap, otherwise.
And no sooner do they leave the frame than Johnny starts moving again. He's up in no time and takes aim with his hatchet, which he throws off screen. At first, we don't know if it landed or not, but a great drone shot follows Johnny
right
to
in the head of Evan.
Been killed by the axe going into the back of his head. That leaves the injured Troy completely vulnerable.
Please, help!
Nope.
Oh my god, and now his head is burst like a balloon. It is absolute cinematic magic that the shot goes from Troy shouting to his head blowing up with no visible cut in between. Beautiful work. Damn. The attempt they did in the first production wasn't quite as seamless. Earlier by the campfire, Johnny saw Troy pocket his locket, but he finds that pocket lockerless now. That's because it's around the neck of Chris, who's just returned after finding Aaron's body. Johnny nearly gets her with another axe throw, but she narrowly escapes with Colt on an ATV. While the film loves basking in the beauty of its setting, shooting in the wilderness was anything but peaceful. The heat from the crew's body and camera equipment ended up attracting clouds of mosquitoes and black flies. They shot with nets over their heads and still wound up with hundreds of bug bites. Johnny's actor Barrett had it especially bad, since bugs would get inside the mask to gnaw on his face.
It was like a restaurant that they could go in and just eat our main actor.
As a tribute to their tiny tormentors, the movie's end credits are set to the Black Fly song, written by Canadian folk singer Wade Hemsworth and performed by Tracy Newman in 1965. Johnny spends his remaining daylight hours trudging back to the station. By the time he gets there, the kids have already met with the ranger. He's none too pleased about their accidental grave robbing.
You don't know what you just did, okay? That's his mother's necklace. It's the only thing holding his soul at rest.
Johnny finally enters the
Speaking
field
of
of
which,
vision.
hi.
Turns out this is a reunion. That me-looking ranger was the last person to bury Johnny at the fire tower. See, his father was the sole survivor of the original White Pine slaughter, the one mentioned by Aaron at the campfire. The ranger himself survived another massacre 10 years ago.
I remember what you did 10 years ago.
We've gotten hints about that incident throughout the movie.
You guys want to hear about the park rangers that died here 10 years ago?
I think we're good for tonight.
So wait, does that make what we're watching watching a part 3? Then why the hell isn't it in 3D? Whoa!
Whoa.
The
Sorry,
Tom
no part
Jarvis-esque ranger floors Johnny with a shotgun blast and tells Colt to grab some chains to tie him up. Chris just wants to give the locket
just
back,
double tap
but
it,
that's not an option anymore. The only way to keep him down now is to bury him back in the ground he died at by the fire tower. Unfortunately, Colt's a bit of a coward, so Johnny's able to disarm them and fuck up their ATV. The ranger gives the kids a chance to escape, but isn't so lucky himself, getting a chiropractic session that leaves him paralyzed. We sit with him and watch his terrified eyes, the only part of him that can move, as Johnny leaves to power something up off screen. He then hooks the ranger and drags him over to a shed where we see that he turned on a log splitter. Don't know what that is? Don't worry, Johnny's got you covered.
Yep.
With the demonstration,
That's gonna be you,
Johnny
buddy.
proceeds to use the machine to chop off the ranger's hand. I feel like he originally planned to do this whole kill piecemeal, you know, limb by limb. But after seeing how long it took for just one hand, even Johnny's patience is worn out. The horrifying 3-minute unbroken one take culminates with Johnny putting the ranger's neck within the splitting lane. It kills the poor guy with a long splitting headache. This whole scene is so slow and methodical, with the machine's constant hum in the background. It's really unsettling. The Ranger was played by Reese Presley, whose kill in Psycho Goreman earned a Prime Rib nomination for Best Kill. Dude's just good at dying, I guess. With the Ranger danger neutralized, Johnny plods back after his locket. Chris and Colt try to sneak around with a plan to take him down, but they can't whisper quietly enough for it to work.
I've got to distract him. You go to the fire tower and set up the trap. I'll lead him there. It's the only way to stop him. I'll be back, I promise.
After a lot of standing and staring, Colt enacts step 1, the distraction.
Come on, you ugly son of a bitch! We're right!
Oh!
Guess the plan's canceled,
that didn't
since
work.
Johnny chops Colt down to size and then some. And then some
90
more.
shots?
In fact, Johnny thwacks this guy at least 90 times by my count. Goddamn,
Holy
dude.
shit.
Johnny, please.
Colt,
This
Johnny,
guy
he's
is
already
the
dead.
deadest anyone has ever been outside of a
Jeez.
Terrifier flick. The overkilling is witnessed by a shell-shocked Chris, who decides she is not the final girl for this job. She abandons her booby trap materials and tools to escape the map, and leaves the locket behind with them. The movie switches to her perspective as she flees into the forest, getting confused by the endless trees and the occasional sound of more thwack attacks. A jump cut takes Chris to Dawn, where a branch has seemingly impaled her leg. She manages to limp her way out to the main road, where she waves down a truck for help. It's driven by Lauren Marie Taylor, who played Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2 43 years ago. She starts to drive Chris to a hospital, but she's too traumatized to say what actually happened to her.
Was an animal.
In response, the driver launches into an extended monologue describing her brother's near-death encounter with a bear.
Looked like something out of a horror movie or something.
It's a real long spiel, and a lot of people didn't like sitting through it after 80 minutes of walking simulator. But it's meant to show what life is like for the final girl after the credits roll. How awkward was that truck ride for Sally after they were further on down the road? The bear attack story itself could be a cover-up for another one of Johnny's killing sprees, but it could also just be a metaphor for Johnny himself, a wild animal who kills on instinct. The driver notices Chris is bleeding heavily, so she pulls over to tend to her wounds. But Chris doesn't want to stop for nothing.
Just take me to like a hospital, please. Please, please.
She spends the whole time watching and waiting for Johnny to come out of the woods. And you almost expect him to, but nothing happens. It's almost worse that way. For the final girl, life will never be the same. We get a short montage revisiting all this violent nature. The movie ends showing that Johnny's locket has disappeared. Maybe he took it and went back to his dirt bed. How many poor
pretty
people
sure that's
did
why
our
he
plotting
wanted it in the first
protagonists
place.
plow
Just give him
through?
back the
Let's
locket.
find out and get to the numbers.
We're just walking with him. What it goes to show you? Sometimes just gotta enjoy it. It's like, oh wait, hold up. There we go. Fix that. Look at that. See the chunky stuff. Nice. Like so. Lows down the descent. Oh. That's how he does it. Huh. Green screen. That's handy. Alright. Here we go.
8 people died in a violent nature, and in a violent nature.
6 guys,
and
2 girls.
Oh, that's weird. to say. The victims consisted of 6 men and 2 women, giving us a 3-to-1 ratio of dude victims. We've seen this count and breakdown 3 times before, including in 2 kill counts last year, Exorcist 3 and The Hills Have Eyes. With a runtime of 94 minutes, In a Violent Nature had a kill on average every 11.75 minutes. I'll give a golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Aurora. Absolutely,
right to the
sure, obviously. Come on. There's a lot of gory goodness in this movie, but when you watch horror movies for a living, it is truly special to see a kill you have never seen before. You always said if your lamest kill, we'll go to Chuck, who went out
again,
with off-screen whimper. And that's it. In a Violent Nature came out in 2024 and already has a sequel in development.
Really?
I hope Nash wasn't joking when he said it could be Johnny in the Suburbs. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice.
Anyway, this has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
At the turn of the century, London succumbed to the rage virus due to some
later,
monkey business.
Now we're up to 28 weeks.
28 days later, the place was a mess. But we've already talked about that. Now it's 28 weeks later, and the rage virus is gone. Those who suffer from it all starved to death. The place is clean. We promise.
It's very hard for you to imagine, you know?
All that's left is clearing out the remaining bastard skellies. British refugees are returning home to rebuild.
Here we go again.
Assisting them in their efforts is the American military, so you know nothing's going to go wrong.
We've lost control.
There we go.
Well, I'm sure we can find a measured way to fix this.
Or that. Oops.
Ah, shit. 28 weeks later ditches the first film's eerie isolation and instead gives us big-budget zombie chaos.
Oh man, this is FUBAR.
It's got
Pretty
bigger
much
guns.
Yeah!
Bigger blood. And a way bigger body count. Seriously, this is... How the fuck are we supposed to count this? Oh my god. What? Wait, slow the camera down. Damn, man. Got me
Gonna need
pining
slow-mo
for
for
the
this
purge.
one.
This week, mark your calendars for 28 weeks later.
That's what we need.
Then hunker down with some friends.
How many?
Loads.
And watch the kill count. Only on Dead Meat.
This is madness.
28 weeks later.
Yeah, just a heads up. Rage virus may be gone, but there's still a carrier. That's why it came back. I remember this film. That's how it came back, okay? If you don't believe me, go watch the film yourself. Anywho, I'll see you for 28 weeks later, which, ironically, we are getting this another film from this franchise. 28 years later. Don't believe me, I think I actually did a reaction video to it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.